Hello, and welcome to the April 2022 Folklore and Fiction podcast. My name is Kelly MacCath-Moran. I'm a PhD candidate in the Folklore department at Memorial University of Newfoundland, and I'm also a speculative fiction writer under the pseudonym C.S. MacCath. The Folklore and Fiction podcast and dispatch synthesize these passions with a focus on folklore scholarship aimed at storytellers. You'll find the Folklore and Fiction archive along with the rest of my work online at folkloreandfiction.com. Interested listeners will find a link to the current dispatch in the show notes, where a more comprehensive record of this episode can be found, including a bibliography and other references. Before I begin, one of my colleagues in Poland is volunteering much of her free time to help refugees arriving from Ukraine, so I asked what those of us who are far away from the war might do to help. She recommends donating to Lambda Warsaw, which is helping queer refugees find safety and support in Poland. She also recommends supporting the Kyiv Zoo, which is working to get animals out of the country, and Kyiv Animal Rescue, which is helping animals in the country who have no one else. There are many ways to help Ukraine, but these are the ones that came to me through a reliable source, and you will find links to each one in this month's dispatch. Slava Ukraini, and may all that is holy and good protect the people of Ukraine. This month's exploration of traditional folk narratives and contemporary storytelling centers on Molly Whuppie, a popular fairy tale about a girl who outwits a giant, much as Jack and the Beanstalk is about a boy who does the same. However, the tale's praiseworthy depiction of a clever, courageous girl is situated alongside a fair degree of story violence, so it makes for an interesting analysis of folk tale sanitization, which we'll do in this edition. We'll also look at motifs and tale types associated with Molly Whuppie, and utilize fee, fi, fo, fum as a launch point into a discussion of foreign language dialogue and storycraft. Molly Whuppie. Once upon a time, there was a man and wife who had too many children, and they could not get meat for them, so they took the three youngest and left them in a wood. They traveled and could see never a house. It began to be dark, and they were hungry. At last, they saw a light and made for it. It turned out to be a house. They knocked at the door, and a woman came to it who said, "What do you want?" They said, "Please let us in and give us something to eat." The woman said, "I can't do that, as my man is a giant, and he would kill you if he comes home." They begged hard. "Let us stop for a little while," said they, "and we will go away before he comes." So she took them in, and set them down before the fire, and gave them milk and bread. But just as they had begun to eat, a great knock came at the door, and a dreadful voice said, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of some earthly one. Who have you there, wife?" Said the wife, "It's three poor lassies, cold and hungry, and they will go away. You won't touch 'em, man." He said nothing, but ate up a big supper and ordered them to stay all night. Now, he had three lassies of his own, and they were to sleep in the same bed with the three strangers. The youngest of the three strange lassies was called Molly Whuppie, and she was very clever. She noticed that before they went to bed, the giant put straw ropes around her neck and her sister's, and round his own lassies' necks he put gold chains. So Molly took care and did not fall asleep, but waited until she was sure that everyone was sleeping sound. Then she slipped out of the bed, and took the straw ropes off her own and her sister's necks, and took the gold chains off the giant's lassies. Then she put the straw ropes on the giant's lassies and the gold on herself and her sisters, and lay down. And in the middle of the night, up rose the giant, armed with a great club. This episode of the Folklore and Fiction podcast is a preview, and you can listen to the full episode on the Folklore and Fiction website. Just click on the dispatch link in the show notes or go to folkloreandfiction.com and sign up for a free account. Thanks very much for your interest. Copyright 2019 to 2023. Kelly S. MacCath-Moran. All rights reserved unless Creative Commons licensing is specifically applied.